So I'm Dr. Deborah Sarnoff. I'm a Mohs surgeon and a dermatologic surgeon, and I practice with my husband of 32 and a half years, Dr. Robert Gotkin, who is a plastic surgeon. And we'll first tell you how we met.
We met as interns in 1980 because we were assigned to the same Resusci-Annie doll to learn CPR.
And Bob said at that time, I used to take the alcohol and scrub the lips before I would do mouth-to-mouth after he did mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, because back in the day, that's what you did, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And he claims that he didn't want to insult me, so even though my lipstick got all over Annie's mouth, he just put his lips right down because he liked me from day one. But we did meet the first day of internship, and then we had our goals. I wanted to become a dermatologist. He wanted to become a plastic surgeon. So we achieved those goals. We decided to get married and work together. And we've done that for many, many years.
We were very fortunate to have one son, and raising him was challenging with both of us working. And it's very important in that setting to have family help, and we were very lucky to have very good family help. And what we also found is that it was important to have live-in help at home, because with a busy practice and a busy dermatological practice, a busy Mohs practice, and me a busy plastic surgery practice, we were never going to be around when the school bus came home. We were often gone early in the morning, even before the school bus came. So we had to have live-in help, and that's something that we had to compromise on. Neither of us were brought up that way. But the interesting thing is that in our family backgrounds, we both came from family units where both parents worked together. Debbie's father is an attorney, and her mother worked with him in the law practice. And my parents worked together in retail wines and spirits. And they set examples for us about working together. And when we grew up, there was no live-in help, but our family lives were much more complex with the busy medical practice that we have, so we felt it was important to have live-in help. In addition, there are challenges in raising all children, and you have to manage these challenges. You have to manage challenges of dealing with aging parents as well. So these are things that everyone has to do with. So again, it comes back to being supportive of each other and compromise.
And I think our son really has had the benefit of what he calls 5 parents. He was blessed to have my parents 8 doors away down the block, a housekeeper full-time, and the 2 of us. And sadly, he's an only child. In his mind, it was sad. He wished he had siblings because he said he had 5 parents and only 1 kid. It's not fair. So he hopes to marry and have a lot of kids to make up for it.
One of the things that we found about working together is that there's a tremendous synergy between the 2 of us. And what I mean by that is that 1 + 1 = 3, not 2. And we feel that the synergy benefits both us and, most importantly, our patients, because what we bring to the table by working together are 2 different minds from 2 different backgrounds, both dermatology and plastic surgery, and our patients benefit from that mindset and the thinking that we both bring to solve clinical problems.
I do think our patients benefit. As an example, I'm a Mohs surgeon. Sometimes we need a really sophisticated reconstruction, rebuilding the entire nose, maybe with a median forehead flap, something very elaborate. And Bob is there to help with that so that our patients get everything under one roof. I also think that we have the female-male perspective, which can sometimes be different. Sometimes it can be a little challenging when we don't always agree. But I do think that in the end of the day, our patients are benefiting, and I think that our staff is enjoying working with both of us, and we do bring our own mindset to the table. Also, I think in dermatology, I'm very well versed in looking at inflammatory diseases and histology and understanding the nature of different rashes. And in plastic surgery, that's not something that's emphasized, so I do know that over the years, Bob has learned a tremendous amount from me, and the other way around, anatomy.
I as a surgeon, were very well versed in anatomy, because when you buy real estate, it's location, location, location. And when you do surgery, or even when you do any kind of aesthetic treatments like injectables, it's anatomy, anatomy, and anatomy. And Debbie has learned a tremendous amount of anatomy by working together over the years. So we both benefit from what we get from each other, and in the end, our patients are the greatest benefactors of our synergy.
We've also been able to attend each other's meetings. Hence, when we're at a dermatologic meeting such as ODAC, Bob is here lecturing and enjoying and learning and teaching, and the same goes with the plastic surgery meetings. I'm able to attend them and to contribute, and so I think that it makes us both better physicians and better at what we do and better for our patients. So we want to talk about division of labor. We feel we're on the same team, but we can't do it all. So we have to delegate, and we delegate to one another. So in terms of division of labor, I believe we do the same thing in the office as we do at home. For instance, in the office, in terms of running a busy practice and worrying about how to finance this practice, I'm in charge of accounts receivable. I'm in charge of tracking and making sure that all income that we work hard for is ours, and it comes into the office. And I look at that very, very closely. I will scrutinize what we call the EOMBs, the statements from the insurance company, and I will work along with the billing department and make sure, and the bookkeepers, that every amount of money that's due ours is collected properly. On the other hand, I don't like to write the checks. I hate to watch money going out. So therefore, Bob takes over.
So I'm responsible for all bills and outgoing money. So I track expenses, and I do the same thing at home. I pay all the bills at home, I track expenses at home, and I make sure that whether it's in the office or at home, any vendors that are selling goods or services to us are providing what we're paying for. So this division of labor has worked very well for us over the years, and this division of labor is also sort of like a boy-girl thing, also a dermatology plastic surgery thing. We both bring to the table a different background, a different mindset, and we have to play on each other's strengths. So we build each other's strengths. We do what comes easily to us, and the other person does what is most easily done by them.
And that's exactly right, because we all are born with different strengths. And I think if you play to your strengths and you can be honest with yourselves and realize who's good at what, then it can work out. I'm definitely the more creative one. I'm definitely better at speaking to lay people. I can write books for lay people. I can communicate in an open house to women who want rejuvenation, and I can speak their language very easily. Bob is a technical guy, very, very skilled at writing medical papers, researching, footnotes, everything in its proper, precise position as a plastic surgeon should be. And I think those skills together make us better than either one alone.
Each of us is on our own career paths, and often our career paths are not in parallel. They're not at the same trajectory at the same time. So it's very important to be supportive of the other person's career path and what's going on in their lives and their careers at the time. It's also very important to be anti-competitive. We're on the same team, so even though Debbie may be doing one thing in her career at a particular time and I may not be involved in that, that's okay. It's most important to be supportive of your spouse, to be the wind beneath their wings.
When we were first married, Bob got a fellowship in plastic surgery at Georgetown, which was in Washington, D.C., and I already had gone into practice in New York. But we wanted to make it work, and he wanted to go to that fellowship program. So consequently, for 2 years, I commuted, and I had 3 days in New York and 4 days in Washington, D.C., and I found myself a position at the NIH so that we could deduct the trip and be together. But we made it work, and sometimes you have to give and you have to take. The same thing goes, I think, when you're raising a family, which we were fortunate to have, and we still have, thank goodness, my parents are still alive. He helps me to a great degree with that. And with our social schedule, I would say that maybe I'm more in charge of that. But on the other hand, he will always come through and help. So I think we help one another. And sometimes, as he said, it might be that new technology comes out. When smart lipo first hit, he was really running with the ball because, that's his thing. He loves liposuction and he loved laser lipolysis. And there were many, many opportunities for him. And I encouraged him, go with all of them and ride it out because it's an exciting new technology and you want to be at the cutting edge of it. Same thing with me. If there's a new wavelength or there's a new filler or something that I'm behind that I'm very excited about, he's very, very supportive. And so we may not always be doing research for the same product, and we may not always be even necessarily into the same thing. Bob can really be cynical sometimes about the non-surgical methods of rejuvenation because he's a surgeon. He loves to cut, but he's supportive of what I do. So at the end of the day, that's why I love him.
Very often, there are big decisions to make, both at work and at home. We have found over the years what's most important is to never make a big decision without discussing it with one another. Step back, don't make a decision on the fly in the office or at home without discussing it with your spouse. It affects both of you. It may affect your family. It may affect both of us in the office and the entire practice. So you cannot make these decisions single-handedly. We always wait till we can discuss it thoroughly, often after work at a quiet restaurant where we can go over all the pros and cons of the particular decision that we have to make. So never do something alone. Always discuss it with your spouse because it involves both of you, your family unit, your office unit, and you have to give each other that respect.
And the staff will try to play you. They'll ask mom. If mom says no, they'll ask dad. It's really important to kind of delay any big decision and say you'll think about it, or you have to talk to Dr. Gotkin, or Dr. Gotkin has to talk to Dr. Sarnoff, and we'll get back to you. But you have to buy yourself time so you can sit down when you're more relaxed and not in the middle of patient care during a stressful day and think about the bigger picture. So I think it's very important to realize that no decision has to be made in a split second and to take that time, and you deserve that time, and you owe it to your spouse.
And getting back to the bigger picture, you will always have disagreements with your spouse. And what you, again, have to do is step back and recognize the bigger picture, what you're both striving for. And very often, when you disagree, you have to think, will these disagreements really matter to us in 10 years, in 20 years, or whatever? And you have to have that big picture perspective so that you can step back. And that brings us probably to one of the most important things that we have to discuss, and that's compromise.
Compromise is very, very important because without it, you'd be dead in the water. We have to realize that, of course, I see it through my eyes, and sometimes I think I am so right, and Bob can be that same personality. I'd say we're both type A, and we're both obsessive compulsive, and we want the best for our patients, we want the best for our staff, we want the best for our family, and we want the best for one another. But sometimes we don't see eye to eye. And I think at the end of the day, after we hear each other out, it's very important, number one, if there's an argument, to be able to apologize, to sincerely mean it, and to not go to sleep angry and not take it into the office if you're having a problem at home, and vice versa. So you have to limit, you have to have boundaries, and you have to just pick yourself up and say to yourself, it's not worth it fighting over something that in the end might be a bonus for an employee, where one person might value that employee and think that that should have a very big bonus and the other person might not agree. At the end of the day, just strike a compromise, because nothing much really matters when you think about it as a whole. So don't sweat the small stuff. That sounds trite, but it's really true. And in the heat of the moment, sometimes you should not be forced to make a decision. Like, Wall Street is going down, should we sell? You don't want to ask that in the middle of Mohs surgery, because the wrong decision will happen.
So that compromise in the end is the most important thing that you have to do as spouses, whether you're seeing eye to eye or not. You must compromise, and you must meet each other halfway, and it's for the good of the family unit, it's for the good of the practice unit. And in the end, as they say, happy wife, happy life.
You got that right, Bob. And also, remember to travel, have fun. We love to find out about different cultures, and we usually make it a business trip. It's tax deductible. We are working, we are lecturing, but we're having a great time too, visiting other countries, meeting other doctors, other people. And I would give 2 pieces of advice. Number 1, if you do work together, take your own car to work. You can listen to your own radio station, and you can chill out, and you can have that little private time. Just the ride to the office is very, very helpful. And the second piece of advice is, don't take your iPad to bed.